For those of you who aren't as familiar with the Somali region, as you can see from this map, there's many different governments or public authorities or extra-legal authorities that are controlling the region of the Somali region. And for a company like Dahabshiil, I think this poses very interesting questions of how do you operate in such an environment. So Abdirashid comes from Somaliland, where there is a functioning government. It's not internationally recognized, but they do hold regular elections, including recently, just a couple of years ago, democratic elections where the opposition party came to power. They issue passports, there's currency there, and it's relatively stable. It's quite stable. There's also Puntland Territory, which is another region and another government that aspires to be part of a federalist Somalia, but it's not seeking international recognition as Somaliland, but there's another set of authorities for a company like Dahabshiil to deal with. And then in the south, you have, everyone has probably heard of Al-Shabaab. Dahabshiil has managed to operate in areas that have been controlled by Al-Shabaab, as well as by the transitional federal government. And just over lunch today, Abdirashid was saying that now in Kismayu, there's a new government, the Jubaland government. So in the last 2 weeks, a new government has claimed parts of Kismayu and saying that they're not recognizing the TFG. So this is an extraordinarily complex environment in which a business and a company operates. And I think what we'll be talking a little bit about today is how does innovation thrive in such an environment? So how does the Somali territories, they now have 10 mobile phone companies. How did this come about and why? And so now I'll turn it over to Abdirashid, and who wants to start, I think, with the video.
Yes, thank you very much.
And we can continue the discussion.
Yeah. Should be on. You can just play the.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for all coming. I'm more than happy to be interactive and answer any questions. I don't claim to be any expert here. So let's first watch the video and then we start presentation as we go along.
Should we get going?
Somalia has been in a state of conflict since the late 1980s. Although things have recently become more peaceful, instability continues in some parts of the country. This has resulted in the displacement of close to half of the entire Somali population, who have been scattered to all corners of the globe. With the absence of a central government, the state has been unable to provide essential services such as banking. Companies such as Dahabshiil bridge the gap by providing remittance and telecommunication services. It serves individuals, businesses, and international humanitarian agencies operating in Somalia. Somalia was in the world spotlight 2 years ago when famine struck following the worst drought of East Africa in 60 years. Somalis all over the world raised millions of dollars to help their relatives and friends back home. Much of the money was sent via Dahabshiil, which also contributed desperately needed funds as part of its corporate social responsibility program.
We couldn't operate at all without a company like Dahabshiil. It's important because our main office in Nairobi has to transfer something like $50,000, and it's done in less than 1 hour, and we can pick it up, as you can see, very quickly with no problem.
Bakara Market is the economic heartbeat of Mogadishu. This market is the center of telecommunications, money remittances, and foreign exchange. Despite the long years of civil war, this market and others in different parts of the territory, such as Hargeisa and Bosaso, have always played a vital role. In spite of the difficulties, entrepreneurs have continued to spot opportunities to do business. The real estate industry, for example, is booming, with heavy investment in both residential and commercial buildings. Private telecommunication investors are laying cables along the streets. The Dahabshiil Group has embraced technology. It operates in all parts of the Somali territories, crossing clan and regional lines. It has a presence in 150 countries, serving Somalis and non-Somalis alike. Dahabshiil and its clients rely heavily on technology, including mobile phones and the internet.
Abdirashid Duale is from Somalia. He is CEO of Dahabshiil, which is one of the continent's most successful international money transfer company. Abdirashid, so talking there about the role of technology helping Africans today in their various activities, you run an international money transfer company which very much relies on technology for people to send their remittances.
Of course, some I will not say all our customers are familiar with technology, but because we work in 155 countries, we experience different customers, and that technology makes it easier for us, whether it's through online or whether sharing the data with them through the mobile. You know, if you use our service, you will receive SMS from us saying, you know, the money has been delivered in a remote area, whether it's Somalia or Sudan or Uganda or any part in Africa. So yes, technology is crucial to our business, and every day we're trying to improve.
The Dahabshiil Group has a wide range of financial services. These include Dahabshiil Bank International based in Djibouti and all the Somali territories, Somtel, a telecommunications company, and the e-card and the e-cash, the first ever debit card in the Somali territories. It can be used in many places including hotels, restaurants, supermarkets and fuel stations. Somtel has made it possible to connect the Somali regions to the rest of the world. Somtel provides a high-speed internet service, very affordable domestic and international phone rates, and mobile telephone services via wireless internet technology. The availability of an internet service has made access to essentials such as education and information more convenient and hassle-free.
I'm a nomad. I follow the world and I take advantage of the communication systems, a modern communication system. I use the internet, I learn the English language, I learn the maths. I used to go to the local school, but then the school I go to now is very far, and instead of that, I take advantage of the internet, and that's how I educate myself.
The World Health Organization estimates the Somalis' health indicators to be the worst in the world. Somtel mobile service has enabled medical personnel to carry out consultation remotely, and this has resulted in saving lives. Dr. Adna Aden, a midwife trainer and director of the Adna Maternity Hospital, explains. A nurse I trained had to deal with difficult labor. The baby was experiencing fetal distress and was stuck. The nurse called me in a panic, and I directed her step by step over the phone until the safe delivery of the baby boy. By continually innovating and adapting to difficult situations, Dahabshiil has been at the forefront of technological change. Few would believe that such things could be happening amongst Somalis. Despite, or perhaps because of the challenges they face, they have been quick to embrace the latest technology and are constantly coming up with new innovations according to their needs. So far, regulations have not stifled this advancement.
Thank you very much. I hope that was useful. I would like to add other further presentations, but I hope I will not repeat what you have already heard through the video. So I'll try to summarize as much as I can.
It's all yours.
How shall I use it?
I guess if you just click it.
Maybe you can help me. Yeah.
Or not.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. As you may already know, the news that normally you hear from Somalia or Somali Territory, and I want to use this word for Somali Territory for a special reason, because everything's so divided into territory, and I want to be neutral here, and I will use Somali Territory, but you might already know Somalia as a country. So Somalia, normally you hear, and I don't want to repeat, what you normally read: war, famine, terrorism, pirates, and it's a fact, even though it's getting less now, less pirates, less terrorism, less, but it's a fact of life in certain part of the Somali Territory. So that's the normal, I believe, that what normally people hear. But I think a lot of international community, they are not aware of how Somalis are using technology, how they are innovating, how in certain ways that a lot of technology that exists in certain part of Somali Territory, I might say, are not available in certain part of the world. Especially, I know the region, which I will talk about shortly. Right. This is,
Yes.
I'll stick to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try again.
Here, I thought this picture you might like. Because camels are well known with Somalis. Still, camel is part of our Somali life. And people in Somalia use so many different ways. But here you see the camel being connected to solar system, to power fridges. And again, what Somalis are good at is to get the solar system. We have a lot of sun there. So for us to utilize in this way, I think it's a very innovative way. And it's not only the use of fridges, they are also using to empower the technology, whether it's a mobile or whether it's other electricity power that Somalis need. So these are another examples of how Somalis are innovative. And Dr. Nicole, you can come in anything I want. If you want me to expand, yeah? Here, because the power is so limited, because you won't get power so easily as you might get in Oxford. Here, they mixed the charcoal, which is easily available in the certain Somali territory, to get good coffee espresso. So again, the Somali become innovative here to keep the traditional way of using charcoal, but at the same time mixing with technology. Right. Here, this is where I try to pretend to be a little bit historian. Before the state collapsed in 1991, everything was run by the government. Everything, 100%. There was no innovative way to run anything, highly regulated, and everything was limited. You know, to call overseas calls, you have to go certain locations to make an outside call. To receive letters was, you know, you have to go certain, like, you know, the college here, where you get all the documents in the receptions. It was that kind of style in the Somali Territory before 1991, when the state collapsed. And of course, Dahabshiil also was a small company then. My father established the company in 1970. He's still active, but at that time, we were very limited, you know, in certain, the service we offer. And I will talk about how technology helped us to expand after the state collapse. Of course, a lot of people died. A lot of people became injured, and a lot of people, you know, run away from the country. They become refugees. They, you know, everything collapsed. That's the sad part of it. But again, also that give us as the Somalis to innovate again, to start from bottom up, more or less with no state monitoring and stopping the development. So everybody has to do what they have to do, and also, you know, the regulation disappear. In many ways, regulations, you know, in I think a lot of African states, it's obstacle to development, and that actually, in a way, encourage entrepreneurship and be able to be creative, and more or less to do what they can, and companies like Dahabshiil also play a part by, you know, offering a lot of internet services and communication service from early on. The civil war started in 1988, even though the state collapsed in 1991, and especially where I lived at that time with my family, Bur'o, which all of us, we fled the country, we started new life in Ethiopia, and a lot of Somalis also, you know, either went to Ethiopia or Kenya or other part of the neighbors country, and some of them came to UK and other parts of the world. So that's a little bit of background. Of course, I talked about earlier of how at that time the communication was, you know. I don't know whether you remember the old tape of messages. Normally here you listen songs and other things, But in the Somali Territory, it was the way of communications. Recording message has to be delivered with letters, and we have to deliver that by hand with the cash. At that time, how the things were. Now talk about how now everything's automated and things are much better than it was. Global presence, I won't do a lot of talk about the Dahabshiil here. We work with United Nations and other agencies that operate in the regions. We now have our own bank in Djibouti and the Somali Territory, offering a lot of banking service. And of course, Somtel, which I'll also talk about later, offering some of the latest technology. To innovate in that environment where I talk about letters, recording messages, tapes, HF radio. I'm sure you are familiar with HF radio. It's basically walkie-talkie. Everybody could hear your conversations. To come from that angle to where now it's so automated to send money online, to mobile, to automating messages. It is an extremely different world coming from that angle, and how it helps with so many different fronts, whether it's health issues or whether it's education that you saw the video. It is a dramatical, really, how the territory changed from that part to where it is now. I mentioned earlier there was only one company before 1991. That company was owned by the government, state-owned company, and the service was limited. Now you have, I think, up to a private company that offer one way or another data service, voice service, up to 30 company. If you compare that with Ethiopia and Djibouti, where still only one state company exists. I was recently in Djibouti, where I have to get a SIM card. I obviously have to go to the main center. And in the Somali Territory, you can get so many cards, so many numbers. And of course, we work with international partners who help us with this, whether it's a Norwegian company or Dutch company or British company who are offering their satellite services. And nowadays, it's Chinese company actually also active in that part of the world. And there's also other televisions and radios and media are also revolutionized in using latest technology.
Can I ask you a question then about the SIM cards?
Yeah.
Because if there's no government that's really regulating the use of these SIM cards, are there difficulties in terms of different phone companies having access to the same lines? So I know that many people have to have multiple SIM cards. How do you handle this, and is there any effort on the part of any authorities to try and regulate this?
Yes, that's a very good point. Actually, I think maybe it's a second slide where I will be talking about that.
So I won't interrupt
okay,
anymore.
no, maybe it's a further down, but I will try. Yes, there's a lot of, I think the disadvantage of not having a strong regulator is that where every company wants to do whatever they want. And if anything, that's where I think we miss the regulations. Because the regulations, the one determined that the companies communicate each other, they talk to each other, and that interconnection is missing. But again, to be innovative is that a lot of Somalis, they use phone with 2 SIM cards like mine here, so that still you can use the both company here, and I don't think this is widely used in the UK. It's widely being used in that part of the world. So yes, that's a challenge to still remain. You will have to get a license from different authority, whether in Mogadishu or whether in Hargeisa or whether in Bosaso or Garowe. Again, you might have to get even 2 licenses to operate in certain places. So maybe things could be double, yes. But again, I think you have to be innovative, and still the business exists, how Somalis go about their life. I answered it.
I don't want to jump your slides though. Sorry.
But now we
No,
must.
please come in because I want to be useful here. Now, I talk about innovations, and I would like to mention that some of you are familiar, of course, with the technology nowadays we're going to. GSM, 3G, now 4G, all the latest technology on mobile, basically offering all kind of product, using picture on your phone and getting access to, and and be talk to your families. So that's are available in certain part of Somali Territory. So that's what I want to highlight. Mobile subscriptions I estimate there to be up to 2.5 million, numbers, and many of them are family shared together, because in many ways Somali culture is the families, helping one another, talking to each other, sending money one another, helping. It's many ways is the how Somali society operates. So these numbers might give you idea.
Do more Somali families have mobiles than they do landlines in their house? Like we would have a landline.
Absolutely, yes.
Everything runs on mobile.
Actually, because when I knew that I'll be speaking to you guys here, I asked them that questions, and the landline actually people are taken out of their home. They want to be on mobile, and landline I think is. I asked a friend of mine, I said, can you estimate the numbers? I said the maximum of the entire country is 100,000 landline. They don't want to have a landline. Everyone wants to have a mobile, latest one, iPhone, Samsung, you name it, all kind of 3G, 4G, 5G. They want to have the latest product. Yeah, and so the mobile system is really the one they are keen on.
And can you say something about the cost of that then? Because I think this is quite interesting.
Yeah. To buy a mobile.
Or the cost of the phone calls.
Yeah.
This is comparatively
exactly.
low. It's extremely low.
Yes. To make $1, I think you can have up to 15 minutes to make international calls. Mm. And also local calls, which is where I think a lot of companies make money out of it. It's the local calls within the country. It's hundreds of minutes. I think probably minimum 200 minutes a dollar. And also, for them to have a communication with their family in the diaspora, what they do is that they will buy a UK number or US number. So while you're in Hargeisa, you will have a UK number. So that if you call me, I'm sure some of you call me, you will call me in the UK number or Norwegian number, 00547. So that it encourages people to talk to one another and to save money. And yeah, go ahead.
I would like to ask you, do you have a standardized currency for all the Somali territories, or a universal currency for people in all these territories to do business?
Good, very good. Well, I think US dollar is in a way become practically the currency that the country use. Of course, you have in Somaliland, you have a Somaliland shilling. In Somalia, you have all Somalia shilling, like before the state collapse. And so, yes, but not only US dollar, they use UAE currency, other Arab Middle East currency, European Union currency. So widely available currency, yes.
So is there a locked currency exchange rate, because all these territory uprising every single day? Tomorrow may have a new territory coming up. Any centralized regulations so that this way it'll have a more stabilized market if you do the exchange or communications or business?
In a way, everything is run by market. There's no as such as you mentioned. But for example, recently, I don't know whether you have been following the news, the Somali currency is getting stronger, where because of the stability that now in the southern Somalia, especially security improvement, the national currency is getting stronger. But somehow still all the goods and the things that have been bought from outside, be bought in US dollar. No saving has been made because everything is somehow connected with the US currency. So even though the national currency becomes stronger, in a way it's not economically beneficial to the ordinary Somalis. Am I making sense there?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, thank you. So we'll keep going. This is some of the service that Somtel offer. Video conferencing, video calling, live streaming. So this is some of the service. I'm sure if you come to Somaliland, we will sell to you some of these products. Right.
Can I ask about intellectual property rights for software?
Maybe we should stick with this theme, and then afterwards we can have some other questions as well.
Yeah,
We can continue with the presentation.
Are you happy with that? Okay. All right. This I love this picture. I want to share with you two ladies, obviously with the traditional clothes, and I'm sure they're chatting on Facebook and Skype and Twitter inside the territory. So, in many ways, it highlighted how technology is not a barrier to those who want to use it. Regulations. For our money transfer, we have to, of course, regulate wherever we operate, whether it's outside the country as well as inside the country. We are a member of a lot of associations to maintain our regulation compliant. And if I talk about the country inside, as I said earlier, we have to get a license from Mogadishu, we have to get a license from Somaliland, we have to get a license from Puntland for money transfer and as well as telecommunications. And we also have to work telecom associations to managing frequency, numbers, and some of these disputes if it ever arises. So those are there. I have to highlight a lot of issues can be solved through community leaders. So everything has not go through courts and others. That's where traditional system is useful here if any disputes arise.
So, Abdi, when you say telecom associations,
yes.
Are you talking about the telecom companies creating an association between themselves? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. There's a lot of telecom associations where the telecom companies set it up and also working with international union like International Telecommunication Union and others, World Body, working with them is where they are useful when it comes to. Because certain things you have to work with others, otherwise there will be a crisis. I wanted to share with you this phone's picture. This is one of the latest picture. Hello.
Sorry.
Is one of the basically with the phone. You remember earlier the video Edna talking about helping a woman who was given birth to, and this technology we think will help Edna for the future. This is where this phone will scan the heartbeat. It will, talk about blood pressure. Will help the blood pressure. Will help so many things. So we have not introduced it yet, but we believe this kind of technology is the way Somalis are heading to. Remotely, those who are in the ruler could get this kind of technology, and if there is a doctor on the other side, they could help. So there's a lot of investment needs, of course. Ultimately, you need doctors and others who will help the other side. But we believe this kind of phone will help in terms of health improvements and others. In summary, I hope my presentation and my video show that whenever we hear about Somali story, that the Somalis were helping themselves. They're utilizing technology in so many different ways. They're investing money. They are creating job, and they are helping themselves. I hope that's is the message you got from me here. And second, that the regulation that it used to exist before the state collapse was inhibiting innovations and technology and everything I talk about it. And light regulations is still essential, otherwise there will be more crises to come. And Dahabshiil, as take the role that I mentioned. Still, we believe we can do a lot. Technology is a long way to go for us. I hope also you will understand that some of this technology, like M-Pesa coming from Kenya, it's not about West technology going back to Africa. It's somehow technology African helping themselves and mixing both in a way, learning the best that exists within Africa or other parts of the world. So that's where I want to end, and I will answer any question you may have.